this video, I'm going to backtest an entire week of the ebb and flow strategy just to give you a better idea of how to trade it. I've got market replay data loaded, and that's so I can see the accurate yesterday's point of control and close and pivot points and things like that. I want it to be accurate for the current day. Having these levels on the chart is actually an important part of the strategy, because I do not want to be buying or selling into levels like yesterday's point of control, yesterday's close, yesterday's high, yesterday's low, VWAP, or the 20 SMA. I've also got some delta loaded onto the chart because that is another factor that I'm always looking at when I'm trading. So here's the first 5-minute candle of the New York Open. I'm only trading to 10:30 for the first hour. This is an NQ 5-minute chart. It's the only time frame that I personally trade on. I'm sure there are plenty of other charts and time frames that this would work on. This is the only one that I've been using in my actual live trading for many months now. First candle, 9:35. We get a green ebb and flow dot. So here's the high of this candle. We want to see price break above by a couple points. I'm also looking at higher time frames and the general trend of the market. This next candle, it's pretty much right at the high. Maybe it went up a tick or two above the high. That does not qualify as a break. So if the next candle does not break above when we get a green entry dot, this signal would then be invalid if you're going to follow these strict rules. Sometimes if I've got a green dot and nothing else happens, I'm just looking at this area for this area to break, this high of this candle. I'm looking for it to break at some point by a couple points, which it does here on this candle around 44, and we move up 22 points right there. So that's an option to take the break of this trigger candle at some point in the future. But if you're following the more strict set of rules, if the very next candle after the trigger candle does not break above or below, if you have a red dot, this signal is now invalid and we'll wait for a new signal. 9:45, we get a red ebb and flow dot. We get the low of this candle at 95, so 92.75. When price breaks below, that would be our entry right here. We came down to the overnight open at 80, so we got over 12 points there. Our stop would be at the high of this entry candle right here. On all these trades, I'm going for a scalp of 5 to 10 points. Here we had at least 12 points to get down to the overnight open, so that was enough room to get into a short there. If this overnight open was right up here around 92 at the entry point, I would not take it unless we broke below. 10:05, we get a green ebb and flow dot. Something I'm noticing with the delta is we're coming up to this previous highs. The delta's been kind of drifting lower. These are the kind of things that I'd be factoring in. I'm only wanting to take the best of the best trades. Sometimes there won't be any trades at all triggered during the first hour. Sometimes there will just be 1 or 2. Sometimes there will be 3 or more. Delta keeps drifting off for the next 15 minutes or so. Then finally we get it picking back up. We get another ebb and flow to the upside. Price does eventually move up. This is after hours for me, after 10:30, so I wouldn't be trading this. But you see we get a few more good signals later in the morning. This trade would have worked. The close was at 68, so if we get in at 70 when price breaks above, we've got our stop below the low of this candle right here. We make it up to almost 78, so there was a 5-point quick scalp right there. If you were able to hold on to it, it did go much higher. And these stops are hard stops. Unless the candle's smaller, I don't ever really let it go to my stop. Most of my trades, if they don't work right away, I'm going to be out because I don't want to risk 40 points just to get 10. But if we've got a smaller ebb and flow candle like this and I get in here and the stop's not as big as say is on this candle, I might give it a little more wiggle room. I highly encourage you to come up with your own trading rules for this system and just kind of use what I'm doing as a potential guideline for your own rules. So 1 signal, no trigger. 1 signal, we got a trigger, we got our 10 points. 3rd signal, a little bit more questionable as to whether I would have taken it, but we got at least 1 solid trade in today. That was Monday from last week. This is just one of many strategies that I'm using every single day. I've got a playbook of almost 20 different strategies and setups that I'm looking for. But this is a very easy one, and you don't have to check in on it that often. Just keep your eye out for the 5-minute close of every candle. So once every 5 minutes you'll make a decision on whether to take a trade or not. It's an easy extra system to have to be able to use in conjunction with some of your other strategies. I definitely want some of my other strategies to be lining up with this one if I'm going to take a trade. So it all helps in having extra confirmation. Alright, so here's Tuesday from last week. Here's the first candle of the New York Open. First signal we get, 9:45. Red ebb and flow dot. We're closing right on VWAP. And yesterday's close and yesterday's point of control and the overnight open, we definitely want it to break below this area right here before we get into a trade. So even if the close was at 30, I want to wait till it breaks down below like 23 and really breaks below this major area. So we do get a break below 23, and after this major area we've got enough room down to the 3-day VWAP to get some nice profit. So 23 we came down to 02. So there's 20 points right there. On these bigger candles, sometimes I'll kind of mentally put my stop just a little bit above the 50% mark on these candles. So if it does retrace up 50%, if it goes up any more, I'd be stopped out, and that way I don't have to have my stop at the very top of this candle. Or if there's 20 points room down to the 3-day VWAP and there's a lot of delta coming in like there is here, maybe having a bigger stop is okay, and I'll go for 20 points instead of 10. But this was a great break. We got the signal. We're below the 20 SMA, we're below the pivot, we're below VWAP, we're below yesterday's close, and we don't have anything in our way until the 3-day VWAP right here. So that was a great trade. Next signal, 10 o'clock. Red ebb and flow. Got the low at 67, so if it breaks below 65 or so, we'll get in. We could put our stop a little above halfway on this candle. Retraced a little bit. Still have plenty of delta coming in on this candle, so I'm liking that. And there's nothing in our way until yesterday's low over here. So if you're going for a larger target, yesterday's low in this case could be a potential target, or S1 pivot point. I'm always looking to trade to the next level of support and resistance, whatever that is, after we get a close above or below a previous level. So let's say we got in at 64 or so. This candle dropped over 30 points in 5 minutes, and then we made it down even more to yesterday's low and S1. So after having 2 winning trades in a row, I'm going to be extra picky if I'm going to take a third. And after this huge move down, I'm not so certain I'm going to want to take a long. We had a close at 41.50 on this candle, so at 43.50 we break above. We do get up almost to 54, so you could have got 5 or 10 points there. In my mind, this would have been a risky trade. After this area is holding up for a while and the negative delta is drying up, we're starting to get some positive delta coming back in. We get another ebb and flow at 10.40 after when I'm usually trading, but this trade worked out. We popped up over 30 points after this signal. Here we are at Wednesday from last week. So we get a signal right before the New York Open, depending on quite a few different things. Sometimes I will take these trades, but if you're being extra strict, I would not take this pre-market candle trade. I'd wait for the first 5-minute candle close. But sometimes these can be good signals. If I've got a bunch of other reasons to trade, I might trade it. This particular one worked out, got almost a 20-point drop after the close. But if you're being super strict, I do not take a pre-market candle ebb and flow signal. I wait for the first 5-minute close at 9:35. So we get a signal at 9:45, red ebb and flow dot. This trade I actually remember. I did not take this trade. We did get a move down to 07, so it moved down 3 points. I remember a couple things from this trade. I had drawn out a manual support and resistance level at 05. So for me, I had a manually drawn support and resistance level for my 60-minute chart that I'd drawn at 05. So when we get this close around 09, down to 05, that's only 4 points. That's not enough room. I was waiting to see if it was going to break below 05 and, more importantly, whole number. So for me, I was waiting for a break a whole number. I did not take this trade. The other thing that I noticed is delta was drying up. We're making these lower lows, but delta was drying up. However, after having multiple ebb and flow signals to the downside, I was waiting for the whole number break. I took a trade when we broke 97. Price moved down to S3, almost 60 points lower. 1020, next ebb and flow signal. We got our high around 59. Next candle does not break the high of this trigger candle, so no trade. Next candle also does not break, no trade. That's 1030, that's when I'm done. So for me, there was really no ebb and flow trades, other than I was waiting for the break of whole number after this ebb and flow signal. And here we are at Thursday, 9:35. First 5-minute candle of the New York Open. We get the ebb and flow signal. However, are you seeing what I'm seeing? Got the close of this candle here, but this green and red squared line, this is VWAP. Definitely need a break below VWAP. And especially since this is the first 5 minutes of the Open, I want to see a pretty good move below VWAP. Also got the 3-day VWAP right here, very close by. Not super interested in this trade. If you did wait for the break below VWAP, got in at 92, did move down to 85, could have got a 5 or 6 point scalp in there. Worst case scenario, if you did enter and you put your stop up at the top of this candle, or even right above the 20, a little above halfway on this candle, it did work out. Next ebb and flow signal right here. Very large candle, a lot of delta. Closed at 39, so we're looking at getting in at 37. So we just want to check. We've got the overnight open here at 25, about 12 points away, so that's enough to get our 5 or 10 points. Get in, it goes down to the overnight open, 12 points. Putting a stop above this entry candle would be a little bit too much. It's a really big candle. Could have a stop above VWAP or the 3-day VWAP, or slightly above the 50% mark of this candle. But that trade did work out for our 5 to 10 point scalp. We had just enough room down to the next area of support and resistance. Third signal of the day, 9:55, red ebb and flow dot to the downside. Here's our low at 19. Next candle never goes below, no entry. 10:10, got our high at 05. We're buttoned up right against the 20 SMA here. Next candle does not go any higher, no entry. 10:30, we get an ebb and flow dot. I treat the dots right at 10:30 the same way that I do when I get a dot right at the market open at 9:30, aka the 9:25 to 9:30 candle. I'll take it if I have good reason to. Otherwise, if I'm being super strict, I'm just done at 10:30. Not trading. However, we have a lot of delta coming in all of a sudden. We're below VWAP. We're moving below yesterday's point of control. The candle closed at 40.50. So if we got in at 38.50, the overnight open is 15 points lower. So that's plenty of room to get in a 10 point scalp. So that trade would have worked out if you took it. So here we are at Friday from last week. We've got a red ebb and flow dot. This is the pre-market candle, closed at 9:30. Trade at your discretion. It did drop 30 points right at the open, but if you want to be super strict about it and avoid the first 5 minutes of craziness, the New York Open, you want to wait till the first 5-minute candle closes. Right here, next candle at 9:40, we get the green ebb and flow. We get a high on this candle right at yesterday's close. Definitely want to see it go above yesterday's close. So that's at 34. We want to get in at 36 or 37 maybe. Here we move above 37, got plenty of room up to the pivot point and the overnight open. 37 to 54, like 17 points, plus it went up another 20 above that. So plenty of room to get our 5 or 10 point scalp there. Next signal at 9:55, we had the high just slightly above yesterday's close. Next candle does not break above. No entry, no entry. Green ebb and flow at 10:10. Got our close at 15. Moved up just a few ticks up to 16. No entry. Plus we're right at the 20 SMA. Anytime we're right at a level, you know, I might up my entry instead of 2 points above. You know, I want it to be like 3 points above. I just want to make sure there's a nice break above or below any of these key levels. Next signal, 10:25. Still have 5 minutes till 10:30. This is a valid signal. Got a down candle, we're below VWAP, we're below 20. There's no major areas of support and resistance in the way. Got plenty of room down to yesterday's low and S1. Get a close around 50.50. We get in at 48. We drop 50 points just in this one 5-minute candle. Plenty of room to get in our 5 to 10 point scalp. So we got one trade that didn't trigger, another trade that did not trigger, and another winning trade. So this system is definitely not for everyone, and this system is not the only system that I trade. Like I mentioned, it's just one of the many things that I'm looking for. And if you get the ebb and flow indicator, you want to make sure that you've got some key areas of support and resistance on your chart. I always recommend having VWAP. I always recommend having the 20 SMA. I always have yesterday's close, yesterday's high, yesterday's low, and I always have the pivot points. So usually there's between 1 and 3 quality ebb and flow signals every day. Sometimes not at all, but usually somewhere between 1 and 3 on the 5-minute NQ chart. I've always got the 5-minute chart up as well as the 1-minute and the 15-minute. So checking in on the 5-minute chart, you know, at the close of every 5-minute candle, this is a nice little extra system that I can incorporate into my daily trading. I feel like this does require some other trading knowledge and just general feel for the markets, and of course personal discretion, which is paramount in any kind of trading that you're going to do. The ebb and flow system is a pure price action strategy that I came up with. There's actually another video on my channel that describes exactly how I coded it in Markers Plus. However, if you don't have Markers Plus, or you want the benefit of having a separate indicator without having to use Markers logic and all that, the MonkeyMan Trades ebb and flow indicator is available. Links are in the description. If you have any questions about this indicator, please leave a comment below. I'm trading this strategy on my Apex accounts. If you use the code MonkeyMan over at Apex, you always get the best price. Right now they've got 80% off until the end of July. Hope you got some good ideas for your own trading. If you're enjoying this content, please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.